When I'm introduced to somebody, I ask them, what do you want? Now, if
Hmm.
I asked Alan that right today, or asked
Yeah,
anyone,
sure.
Alan, what do you want? If you and I were going to meet a year from today, what has to have happened for you to be happy, either personally or professionally? How would you
Hmm.
respond?
Well, that's a good question. Are you turning the tables on me here? I've shifted my life too. I'm a tech, company owner, entrepreneur, like you said. Been through all the roller coasters of that life, Cyprus. So it's just like I've shifted my life completely from living in California, which is an amazing state to be in. And I met an amazing partner to be with and share my life with, and it's progressing. And even starting Founders HQ podcast. I started a company called AI Integrators. So it's all these things that are happening right now that are shifting my life. And I'm kind of just, I'm grateful, thankful for everything that's coming my way and meeting amazing people like yourself. Hi, today on Founders HQ, we have Paul Melella Jr. He's the author of bestseller You Have Infinite Power. And now he's a founder of One Degree Coaching. And I think we're going to be chatting a bit about that one. And he's a premier coach for many years. He's focusing on, really supporting financial advisors and business professionals. And we're really pleased to have him here today and excited to hear what he has to say. So, Paul, welcome.
Humbled,
Absolutely.
grateful, honored to be
Great.
here to serve. So, thank you
Excellent.
for allowing me to be on your show and serve
Yeah.
your audience.
Yeah, so if we could maybe start just a little bit with your background, that kind of the journey, maybe a shortened version of the journey that led you to where you are today.
Well, originally I own a chain of martial arts schools. I'm 51 now as we're recording this, but when I was 7 years old, I was bullied. I was short. I wasn't a good athlete. I was not confident at all. I had low self-esteem, and I got picked on by this kid, Tommy Gonzalez, every day.
You
Like
still remember his name.
biggest bull. Oh boy, yeah, it was. Well, it's a good story. So my parents got sick and tired of me getting beat up, and they put me in
Yeah.
martial arts. So secretly, 6 8 months, I started training, developed some confidence. I'm the oldest out of five children. At around that time, I was like 7 8 years old. My parents had a set of twins, my younger brother and sister. My mom couldn't pick me up at the bus stop. So I'm walking down the road on Cherry Lane. I grew up in the suburbs of upstate New York, about 50 miles north of Manhattan, in a small town called Putnam Valley. And I had a good quarter mile, half a mile walk to my house. But back then, the
Hmm.
bus didn't come. They drive at the top of the road, and I had to walk down. And Tommy tried to pick a fight with me, and so I kind of got my martial arts stance. He laughed at me. I fake low went high. I popped him in his nose. His nose
Wow.
started to bleed. I ran as fast as I could back home, like Forrest Gump, in the movie. And he never picked on me ever again. And here's what happened.
Well done.
We became childhood best friends. The funnier part of the story, I was his best man in his wedding. And even
Wow.
funnier story, I was his best man in his second wedding. So, yeah, true story.
Yeah.
I told him I'm not going to be his best man in his third wedding because he got divorced twice.
End it here.
Yeah, so I said, because of that, I ended up falling in love with martial arts, and I wanted to help other kids develop confidence and people develop confidence. And I started teaching at 14, 15, managing a location for my old boss by I was 17, 18. At 21, I opened up my first business, my first martial arts school, no college education. And I had a mentor that was in my martial arts school studio, was a millionaire, and he gave me a book. And it was Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I'm sure a lot of people
Hmm.
read this book. I still read it to this day, or listen to it once a year. Changed my life. And what happened was I never finished college, and I had a passion for martial arts and helping people, but my business wasn't growing. And that book literally transformed my way of thinking, and I got addicted to personal growth. And then I started investing in personal development. So for the past 30 years, you name it. I remember my very first big investment. I spent $3,000 for Tony Robbins. And I
Hmm.
sat right in the front and I'm watching this man change this people's lives. And I was like, man, I want to be able to make an impact like this man.
Hmm.
Right. And I was in my 20s. And I remember back then I was saying, oh, I can never do that. I'm too old. I was like 20. I'm too old. I already chose my path. I'm a martial art professional.
Hmm.
And but what happened was I got addicted to personal growth, and you fast forward millions of dollars in personal development. Still to this day, I get coached. I have a coach, Andy Elliott. I pay him big money to personally coach me, and now I'm coaching people around the country, and so grateful. So what happened was I got so much involved in personal development, leadership. I studied all these people, and I started taking those principles that I've learned from leadership, human psychology, and neurolinguistic programming, all these things I was learning in personal development, sales, and applying them to my martial art business. And some of the parents were listening because it was gearing to mostly kids at the time. Were like, "Oh my goodness! Like what you said, it changed my life. Oh, here's a uniform. Come train with me." And my school started to double, and it grew, and then we scaled. And so I ended up buying commercial properties, right? So any financial advisors that I work with,
Hmm.
they love this because I do a lot of investing in whole life insurance, and I developed a lot of cash value, if you know that strategy.
Hmm.
And I ended up becoming my own bank, and I would buy a building, put up a martial arts school, buy a building, put up a martial arts school, and I started to scale. And I'm like, how can I help more people? How can help more people? And then a mentor said, you got to write a book. And so we
Hmm.
did. I ended up writing a book, You Have Infinite Power. I'm writing my second book now with one of my top clients, who's one of he's the owner of the largest guardian wealth management organization in the country called Strategies for Wealth in Manhattan. And we're co-authoring a book that's going to come out in 2026. And honestly, what we ended up doing is I was engaging in business professionals that would have never walked in my martial arts school and literally transforming their lives with some of the things I've been learning. And then through
Hmm.
my book, we trademarked this thing called transformation, which is an acronym. And then I created a process where we just help high level executives transform their
Hmm.
mind, their body, and the meaning of what success is, right? Because we're all going to have a different
Hmm.
definition of success. And unfortunately, a lot of people say that success is primarily just money. And what I
Hmm.
found, especially in that industry, was a lot of people would say, success is based upon the coin, right? How much money they make.
Yeah.
I was kind of watching, being slightly judgmental, like watching, and I was exposed to a lot of financial advisors that were very financially successful. And
Hmm.
then now I'm in my early 30s and I'm watching and I'm like, huh, a lot of these men and some women, but
Women
mostly
too. Hmm.
men are overweight and they're
Hmm.
not really in tune with their fitness. They're either divorced, there's a disconnect in their marriage, or some were actually integral or not
Hmm.
integral, like they're not loyal.
Hmm.
When they're out, they care about smoking cigars, drinking expensive wine, expensive dinners, but they don't want to be home with their kids. And then when they talked about money, it was icky. They weren't helping people. They weren't helping people with passion and
Hmm.
like integrity. You know what I mean? And it just felt
Hmm.
awkward. And I'm like, oh my goodness, like is this what I'm thriving to be like? This type of image? It's in the martial arts, it's called a susune, my teacher of life, my grandmaster Kim. I remember
Hmm.
years ago he looked at me and not that I ever said anything, and he goes, you think there's success? Korean accent,
Yeah.
you think there's success? They're not success. They're con master. They go with the women. They smoke cigar. They drink wine. They care about money, money, money. They don't help people. You want to help them? And I said, yes, sir. Help them make life. All right, help
Huh?
them make life. And that's how you help them. And honestly, that's what I've been doing as I pivoted out of the martial art industry now, retired from that, and full time, inspiring, educating, guiding
Hmm.
business professionals to really attain success in all areas of their life, right? And mentally,
Hmm.
physically, spiritually, emotionally, so they can have what I call multidimensional success. And so then they're
Excellent.
living life to their fullest with their own sense of passion and purpose. And to
Hmm.
me, that's more rewarding, right?
Wonderful. And this is
Okay,
what
I can
led
give
you
you that
to.
story.
No, no, this is a great introduction to what your journey's been. And then let's talk about 1 degree coaching. It's like what is what I think you've discussed a little bit about the foundation of it, but I'd love to hear a little bit more of where you're going with that.
Yeah, well, definitely. Well, for sure. My original company was with my co-authors of the book, and we did create this thing called Empowered Masters. That's the logo still in the
Oh
back of
no,
my
no,
wall
no!
here in my
You're
podcast.
still you're. I know you're transitioning right now.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
making this transition, and you know what it was is in my martial art business originally, and my wife and I have stepped away from that. We sold off some buildings and some
Hmm.
businesses, and to be transparent, COVID really did put a damper on that business.
Yeah, it's a tough one to.
We were in New York. I now live in Charleston, South Carolina for the past 5 years. But my wife was with me since day one. My younger brother was my business partner. I had a sister that was our assistant. My daughter was an instructor. Like my dad was a retired electrician, and he would be one of our bus drivers because very uniquely we had
Yeah.
fleets of vans that would pick kids up from school and transport them
Wow.
back to our martial arts schools. And we had like a
Hmm.
martial art aftercare. It was a very uncommon, and we were one of the first to ever do that creatively back in 1999. And that's what really blew up our martial art businesses from a
Hmm.
revenue and service standpoint, right? Very out of the box thinking. And what ended up happening is when I retired from the martial art industry and I pivoted to full-time coaching, my wife and family weren't involved, right? And my co-author and my best friend, this guy Chris Burlow, we founded United Martial Arts together, and he has a bunch of locations. Ironically, he bought my location, he bought my brother's location,
Hmm.
and his wife's involved. Two of his sons work there, run locations. His
Hmm.
mother-in-law, and I said, man, I love you so much. You've been my best friend since 1983, 82.
Yeah.
But I really need to do something with my family because this is a part of my brand. My
Hmm.
family. I look at Gina. My wife is Gina. I look at
Okay.
us. And this is not to be arrogant or egotistic. It's you ever see the movie The Incredibles, the cartoons, The Incredibles,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. That's your. That's.
There's these two superheroes they couple up like there's a power couple, and they
Yeah.
have two
Yeah.
kids, and they're praying that those kids got kind of superhero strengths. So my daughter Kiana is amazing. My son Pierce Michael is amazing, and now they're in college. And my son just got accepted to the Citadel. That's why I'm carrying the Citadel.
All
If you know
right.
what the Citadel is, man, it's like the
No,
military
actually. Yeah, oh,
university.
it's like high end. Yeah. As far as
This is a
for.
big deal. Yeah, my
Yeah.
daughter
Yeah.
goes to SCAD. Like, dude, not they're one percenters. Like they chose the
Yeah.
hardest
Yeah.
route, uncommon route that most high standards and most kids won't
Yeah.
do. You know.
Well, you and Gina had kind of built that into their, you know, into their growth as a human being, and
I'm not
look
taking
where
the
they
credit. I'm
become.
taking because I pray a lot, so I
Yeah.
ask
Yeah.
God for guidance. So and I said, man, I need to do something with my wife and my family, and so I did. I just recently I kind of like stepped away from Empower Mastery, gave it to my best friend and partner Chris, and we're branding. My wife and I are branding 1 Degree Coaching. Hence, this is a kind of like a tagline from our Grandmaster: Be better every day. And 1 degree just means just listen, we don't got to be one, like a lot of my clients want to be the 1%, which is great, but that seems like it's far away, really
Hmm.
extreme. But you know what? What about every morning you just be a little better? 1 degree shift that compounds in your habits, your standards, your mindset. You know, man, over time that compounds, 1 degree every day, 365.
That's huge. Yeah.
It's a lot.
I think I like the way you reframe that too, because it's daunting when you're just looking at the peak of the mountain, right? It's just like, but wait a minute, this is going to get you the steps up there.
Yes, sir.
So well done, yeah. And
Thank
so what are your? I know you have some specific strategies that you work with and areas that you help people, especially in the financial advising and business management sector, as far as like how do they start to make and choose, what things to work on,
Great question.
and so.
Great question. Now, listen, the philosophy and how I coach my can adapt to any human being. All right, but let's be realistic.
Hmm.
I love my dad. My dad was a blue collar union work electrician. Okay, and he'll admit it. Like he wanted to open up his own business. He had a belief that if he had a business, he wouldn't be around for his family. That was his belief. My belief was I want to be an entrepreneur. I'm going to have businesses so I can be with my kids, so I can be with my family, you
Yeah.
know? And so I was very different. I love my dad, but he wanted comfortable, certainty,
Hmm.
safe. Most entrepreneurs, we don't play in the box, man. This is entrepreneurship. This is life. So in reality, human psychology is human psychology, but most humans that are punch in, punch out, 9 to 5, let's just face it, they want to be comfortable. They don't want to grow. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Well, society kind of, I mean, really, it's geared towards creating comfort, right?
That's right.
Comfort, distraction.
Hmm.
We're talking, with 1,000 channels and
That's right.
infinite amount of just things to spend time that really don't result in that 1 degree shift.
Amen. So that's right there. I'm like, well, I can help those people, but I don't think those people want to be helped. I don't want to
Mm.
really grow and improve, right? So that's why I cater to more entrepreneurs or financial advisors or salespeople, people that want to improve and grow and take ownership in their results, right? So to answer your question, I like to think I'm a legend in my own mind. So when I walk up, when I'm introduced to somebody, I ask them, what do you want?
Mm.
Okay. Now, if
Hmm.
I asked Alan that right today, or asked
Yeah,
anyone,
sure.
Alan, what do you want? If you and I were going to meet a year from today, what has to have happened for you to be happy, either personally or professionally? How would you
Hmm.
respond?
Well, that's a good question. Are you turning the tables on me here?
Maybe.
Yeah. No, I mean, I've shifted my life too. I'm a tech, company owner, entrepreneur, like you said, been through all the roller coasters of that life. Sold that business last year. I'm living in a different country, Cyprus. So it's just like I've shifted my life completely from living in California, which is an amazing state to be in. And I met an amazing partner to be with and share my life with. And, it's just like it's progressing. And even, starting Founders HQ podcast. I started a company called AI Integrators. So it's all these things that are happening right now. Um, that are shifting my life. And I'm kind of just, I'm grateful, thankful for everything that's coming my way and meeting amazing people like yourself. So yeah, I think I'm, in not without defining it as 1 degree shifts, but I try to live my life as close to that as I can.
Okay, great. So thank you for sharing. But
Yeah,
see what you
absolutely.
did? I asked a direct question, what do you want? And you told me a story. Told me a story about leading up to where you are. You didn't answer my question. So it's funny because most people do
Oh
that.
well, like you're saying, like maybe I want happiness, I want peace, I want serenity, I want
Okay,
abundance, I
freeze.
want.
Freeze. Good job. You answered one of the 5 ways. So I'm going to
Yeah.
educate. I'm going to give everyone
Abs-
value from
let's
this.
go. Yeah, that's what people want to hear.
Alan's
Yes.
getting Alan's getting
I'm
coached.
just a test.
Coach. So, Alan, you
Yeah.
did one of the ways that people respond. I'm going to share. When I ask this question thousands of times a year, I even go out on the street to Charleston and I interview people. Okay. There's
Fantastic.
one of 5 ways I get a response. Okay. Here's the first response. You didn't do this. Hey, what do you want to see happen over the next year? And some people go, I don't know. I don't know. And so that's like Alan and I getting in the car going, hey man, where do you want to go? I don't know, Paul, where do you want to go? And we sit like idiots.
We're not going anywhere.
Okay. I mean, believe me, people answer, I don't know. Here's one of the most popular. Hey, what do you want to see happen over the next year, personally, professionally? I don't want to fail out of my business. I don't want to be overweight. I don't want. And I freeze and I go, freeze. Notice how I did that, right? I didn't ask you what you didn't want. That wasn't the question. So that what that does for me as a coach, it tells me that their mind is programmed to frame out the negative, right? Unfortunately, that's just the way most people in society are because negativity, media, it sells. That's all we see is we're hardwired negative. It's unfortunately, it sucks that I could say that, but it's the truth. That's the second way. Here's the third way. What do you want to see happen? And here's what most people say. I want to increase my revenue and increase production. I want to lose weight. And I'm like, or spend more time with my kids, my family, my partner. I'm like, great. So if you spent 1 minute more with your partner, you lost an ounce and you increased $1 of production or business or income this year, would you be happy? People are like, no. Okay. And I go, well, what do you want? And Alan answered, I want serenity. I want peace. I want success. And I go, great. How how the F can you measure that? You can't
Mm.
measure that. Your subconscious mind doesn't compute that. That is an objective. That's like me going, Alan, we're going to meet here in South Carolina. And you're like,
Hmm.
oh, that's stupid. Because where in South Carolina? Oh, it's Charleston, South Carolina. Right? And you go, well, wait. If you're going to type Charleston, South Carolina in your GPS, man, that's Charleston is a pretty big county, right?
Yeah.
So I
Yep.
go, no, oh, my bad. Um, um, King Street. Man, you could be up and down King Street. What side of King
Hmm.
Street? Oh, my bad. One Timmon Street, King Street,
King Street. Hmm.
right? And you go, well, where? You understand? So your
Yes.
mind, and here's the bomb, value bomb for everyone. Literally a GPS, like literally a GPS. You need to be so specific with the exact address in the GPS. Sometimes I would test this in the old office in New York. I would give people the address to the office, and then people pull in, but there's a big office building. They don't know if it's the front entrance, the side entrance. Are they going downstairs, upstairs? What suite are they going to? That's how granular. So in
Mm.
your case, when you say serenity, when you say peace, when you say success, the strategy I use is we create what we call three simple measuring sticks. So I would say, yo, Alan, over the next year, what are some, give me three things that you believe have to have happened in order for you to feel that you're at peace? Okay.
Mm.
And so I'll give you a quick example on how this would work,
Yeah.
right? I'm literally, this true story. I'm coaching this guy, Bill, but he's from Buffalo, New York. So I called him
Okay.
Buffalo Bill, like the football team, right? That's how I remembered him. I'm
Yeah.
like, and I asked him this question, and he goes, Paul, I just want to be a better parent. I want to be a better dad. And I'm like, all right. And at the time, he had two teenage boys. So now I could totally relate to what he's going through because I got a
Yeah.
17-year-old son now, right? And this is about 10 years ago. And I said, all right, how are we going to measure that? And he goes, I don't know. And I go, okay, well, what do you want to see happen when you're becoming a better dad? And I told him about the measuring sticks. First response was, he told me how he responds. He goes, well, I don't want to rage like the Hulk on my boys when they get out of line. So he had this identity that he rages like the Hulk, right? And he doesn't want to get angry at them. And I said, freeze, reframe, it's called, right? Neurolinguistic program. Let's reframe your response. And he goes, what do you mean? I go, well, you don't want to be angry. That's not what I asked you what you didn't want. I go, what's opposite? He goes, I want to remain calm. I said, great. I said, let's create a measuring stick. He goes, okay, cool. He goes, I want to remain calm when I speak to my two teenage boys. I'm like, great. Give me a second one. He goes, well, usually it always ends in a fight. Everyone leaves angry. What do
Mm.
you want with the measuring stick? I want to end on a positive. Great. Bill, give me one more. He goes, I just want my wife to notice and say something to me. I say, cool. That's it. That's your standard for 1 year. There's three simple things, metrics, and that will compute into your mind that you're a better dad. Bet? He goes, yeah. So we worked on gratitude. We worked on affirmations, whatever, just mindset. So a couple calls go by, goes, coach, guess what happened? I'm like, what happened? The boys were fighting. They're in the living room. I'm in the kitchen. I'm literally about to go and rage on them, but I did what you said. And I teach this thing called catch it, scratch it, erase, replace. Catch the negative thought, catch the negative emotion, scratch it. Like when we were kids, we had CDs,
Hmm.
DVDs. Man, can you imagine the 80s and 90s, someone scratch your CD player in my car? I'm angry, right? I can't be playing that movie or that CD. You catch it, you scratch it, you erase it and replace it with an empowering thought or statement. Because, yo, coach, I was about to turn into Hulk. I did stop. I looked up to God. I took 5 deep breaths, like you said. I said all the things I was grateful for because I got healthy kids, healthy teenagers. Because I told him, I said, man, I don't know
Hmm.
about you, but my old co-author, he lost his firstborn son at birth. The umbilical cord got stuck around his neck, and his son died in his wife's arms. I said, I got somebody I know that paid all this money for in vitro. I got someone that, I got a nephew that's autistic. Like literally, like you got two healthy jock boys, bro. Like you should be grateful, right? He goes, you're right, you're right. I looked up to God. I took 5 deep breaths, was so grateful, and I calmly walked in. I'm like,
Mm.
good job, measuring stick number one, check. I go, he goes, that's not all. I go, what do you mean? He goes, because I was so calm. He goes, we actually spoke and had conversation. And at the end, we bro hugged. I'm like, awesome. He goes, no, coach, but that's not all. I go, what do you mean? The whole time while he's in the living room doing this, his wife's in the kitchen listening. He comes walking back up, like all proud. And she was like, what did Coach Paul tell you to do that? And we started dying, bro. Like, you know what I mean? Like, so now he has this measuring stick, right, to give him a standard to
Hmm.
basically train his subconscious. Do this, check, do this, check, do this, check, equals you're a good dad. You're a piece or whatever. Otherwise, your mind can't compute that. The last way is you give me an exact result or outcome that's measurable. In your case, you gave me more an objective. Alan, you need to create three simple measuring sticks like my man Buffalo Bill. Was
Mm.
that helpful?
Very helpful. Thank you. I love it. I'm curious, like if you took that same principle and you looked at 1 degree coaching, what are your measuring sticks
For me personally,
for your company,
yeah,
for
so
your 1 degree?
2026, I got three simple measuring sticks, right, for my standard. One is I'm completing my second book. I want that to come out in 2026.
Hmm.
My second measuring stick with my coach is once our brand is done, which I know I got a checklist, right? I got my
Yeah,
checklist.
yeah.
My brands are done before the end of this year of 2025. I have my book to be complete. I have all my video content. My curriculum is uploaded into our new 1 degree coaching program.com website. That's my
Hmm.
second measuring stick. My third measuring stick, besides my wife and my son helping out with, my son's going to help out with social media. Like he's going to follow me doing interviews downtown, like for TikTok and
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. Hmm.
My third measuring stick for this year for that particular company is to have one hire on the sales side. Like he wants me to start building out my team because we know we're only as good as a team that we develop in order to scale. Right? Like I scaled the martial art business. I did that, and now I know in order for me to grow, I need to scale. And that's one of the things that my coach called me out because I've been doing coaching for 15 years, but it was like a part-time gig with my martial art business. But past 5 years, I'm full tilt. And I really was just tackling everything myself, and I had independent
Right.
contractors. But like I'm on the phone, right, 7 hours a day, right? In reality, I want to work 35 hours a week. So the way my business was structured is that I offer 2 calls a month for my clients, and they hire me for a year at the minimum. So in reality, that's 70 people a year. So I was capped, right? So my coach is like, "You're the bottleneck."
Yeah, I was just going to ask you that question,
You're
like,
the
because
bottleneck. You're not.
within your whole strategy,
That's right.
what are the what's the limiting factors
That
that
was
you
my
see? And
limit.
it sounds like you're already.
Factor. And so
And
for
how
me,
do you
it's
see
like,
one salesperson making a difference?
well, Kat, you got to start with one because then I'm not a two other. I'm not tackling the onboarding calls. You understand?
Yeah, yeah.
He or she is tackling onboarding calls. I could focus and stay in my lane in coaching. And then I also know that I can't just do individual or it's got to be high ticket for one on
Hmm.
one. And I got to do what he calls pods, right?
Yeah,
So how you scale. So I could take
yeah.
a group of, I got really three avatars when you look at it. I got younger entrepreneurs, probably in their 20s. I call it a spring season of life. They're not married or they're freshly married, no kids, and they're looking to break the six-figure income world, right? Like
Hmm.
that's,
Hmm.
and I love those guys because I was once that
They're
guy.
hungry. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
I love them. I want to see them grow. and I want to see them grow the right way, you know? And the reason I say that is I'm not the coach for everybody, and some people could get intimidated by the tattoos and the fitness and, you know, I know I say it appropriate. Like, I believe that masculinity has been kind of demonized, and I believe that you can be a strong man, but yet my clients see me meditating. They see me going to church. They see me with my cats. They
Family.
see me
Yeah.
having tea in the morning. Like a samurai, man. He's a warrior, but he's
Hmm.
gardening. He's meditating. There's in the it's and yang. I think there's you could have both. You know what I mean? You could be
Hmm.
the strong, you know, man in your kingdom and love your queen and your family and grow your kingdom, and you could be soft and empathetic too. So this is my message to the young guys. You know, like do the right thing, work on yourself, attract the right partner, build your empire. I love
Mm.
that. I want to help these young men be successful. Then you got the middle crew. They thought they've arrived. They got the spouse, they got the house, they're making mid six figure income, but they're complacent and they're comfortable, right?
Mm.
Then my other ones, these are seven figure income earners. These, you know, they're in their 40s, 50s, and they're out of balance. They're overachievers. They know how to grow. They're grinders, but they're making the money, but everything else is out of whack. They're Ferraris with three flat tires. So it's just the truth, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So now my coach is like, okay, take all your clients and you put them in buckets,
Mm.
right? And you
Yeah.
have pods with communities, and you build up a culture, and you build up, you know, a brotherhood or a womanhood.
Yes.
I got females, but most of the female clients I got are, you know, they're ballers. They're
Yeah.
ballers,
They can
right?
hang with you. Yeah.
They love it. They love it,
Yeah.
and you know, and I know what they're dealing with too. You know, most of them like, Coach, you know, I'm a female in a male dominant industry. I'm like, stop that shit. I don't want to
Hmm.
hear it. I go, the number one advisor at the firm I coach at, like I'm really got a good connection. Her name is Michelle. She's the biggest producer in not only her agency, but like in the country. By the way,
Wow.
she's beautiful. She's like in her 50s and she's got four kids and her husband's in the business and she outproduces her husband. I'm like, I don't want to hear it, right?
Hmm.
That's a victim mentality that don't work with me, right?
Hmm.
So I already know what the women think. I know what the young guys think because they're like, I'm too young, I'm not knowledgeable enough, I don't know what I'm doing. I know what the mid-tier guys think. They're just comfortable and they're lazy and they're complacent and they need to be, you know, shot with, you know, little get uncomfortable. And I know the other guys need to balance out their life, put things in priority. You're working so hard, but you're a heart attack waiting to happen. You're making all this money and you're gonna be dead. And then this is how I really get them. And your wife's gonna have to remarry some young handsome guy on your life insurance policy. How about that? You don't like that. There's the truth though.
Yeah. No,
Health is
it's
wealth, man. You better date your wife because if you don't, it's like you're paying attention to all these clients because someone else is trying to poach your clients. If you ain't paying attention to your wife, someone's gonna try to get attention to your wife. You know, my philosophy
yeah.
is I treat my clients like my family, but here's the move. Here's the play. I treat my family and my wife like my number one client. That's it. That's the philosophy.
They are your number one. Yeah,
Amen.
absolutely. Well, great, Paul. I think that we've covered a lot of ground, and so I think the only things that I'm curious, is just it'll be really interesting to see where your coaching goes. I think you've got a great sort of strategy and plan ahead of you, and you've got great coaching support. And so, anyway, it's been wonderful having you here. And if you could stay on, I'm going to end the recording and then we'll have a quick chat and we'll call it a day. Thank you.
Y'all appreciate you.